Welcome everyone. The time is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this District 204 regular action meeting to order. Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Alvarez.
Present.
Member Beta Daniels. Present. Member Kazelka Campbell.
Present.
Member Dillon.
Here.
Member Giannotti Fry.
Present.
Member Kennedy.
Present.
Member Lopez.
Present.
Okay, I'd ask that we all rise and participate in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We're going to move to agenda approval. Order of business. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. At this time, I'll open the public hearing regarding the LTHS fiscal year 25 amended budget. Do we have anyone present that wishes to comment during the public hearing at this time? Okay. Seeing as there are no comments, can we please have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item is public participation. Marilyn, do we have anyone signed up for tonight's first public session?
Do. Becky
We do
Lawrence.
expect-
Okay.
She's right outside.
On our way. Give her a few.
Right up to the
That's right.
For a second, take a deep breath.
While she is coming in, as a reminder, there are two opportunities for public participation. The first opportunity is for individuals who signed up prior to the meeting. For those who wish to speak during our second opportunity at the end of the meeting, please see Mary Lynn Muscolino just outside the room. The board appreciates hearing from our community, but does not engage in dialogue or discussion. If there is a comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate administrator will respond at a later time. In accordance with board policies 2:230 and 8:30, we appreciate you limiting your comments to 3 minutes and for keeping tonight's meeting respectful and civil. Marilyn, will you please call our first speaker?
Becky Lawrence.
Hello, board. Is this
Good evening.
on? Hi, I'm Becky Lorenzen from LaGrange, and I was just coming to let everybody know, in case you don't already know, that there will be a Juneteenth celebration over at the Corral on June 19th at 1 o'clock through 1:30. And we thank Laced Up Athletics and Ramon Lacey for helping to organize the event. So everyone is welcome. Pass the word. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our.
Very good. So next up, we will turn to Dr. Waterman for the superintendent report.
Okay, thank you, President Alboris. So I'll start with just a brief reminder that in your packet you'll find a memo that provides the monthly FOIA report, which includes all FOIA requests since our last meeting in May. Just to follow up on what Becky just talked about, I want to recognize this week's Juneteenth holiday, which marks the day that slavery was abolished, June 19th of 1865. I know that there are a variety of events planned in our area, including, as she mentioned, an event at the Corral here at LT on Thursday at 11:30. The Community Diversity Group, who's hosting the event, invites our community to join them in reflection, celebrating progress, but also acknowledging the road we have ahead. June is also Pride Month, and LT continues to celebrate the extraordinary contributions of the LGBTQ+ community and their invaluable presence in the arts, sciences, politics, business, education, and beyond. The perspectives and talents of the LGBTQ+ community enrich our world in countless ways, and LT is committed to cultivating an environment where everyone, including those within the LGBTQ+ community, feel that sense of belonging. I think every year, Pride Month provides us with an opportunity to reaffirm this commitment to fostering inclusivity, promoting acceptance, and creating a future where love prevails over hate. Also, in about 2 weeks, a member of our leadership team and someone who has contributed at District 204 board meetings for the last over a decade and a half will be retiring as Director of Curriculum. Of course, I'm referring to our beloved Scott Egerting. Scott has served the entirety of his career here at LT as a teacher, as a coach, as a division chair of English, and for the last and I think longest part of his career was director of curriculum and instruction. We have undergone, our school community has undergone such a variety of significant academic and curriculum and instruction changes, throughout the last two decades, and they've really all been under Scott's direct leadership or direct involvement in some way. From increasing access to continuously expanding the already amazing course opportunities that we have here at LT, to the professional learning that we provide to our staff, Scott has literally been there every step of the way. So tonight is Scott's last board meeting. He's super sad about this, I'm sure. Tonight is his last board meeting, so I just wanted to take a moment to publicly recognize his leadership and his contributions, but also the way that he's connected with our staff and our community. When you pause to really think about the time and the dedication and the effort that he's put into every one of his roles here at LT, he has positively impacted literally tens of thousands of students here at LT over the last 33 years. So, Scott, the impact you've had on this community is incredible, and it's my pleasure to present to you an award of excellence in curriculum leadership for your outstanding contributions to Lyons Township High School. And most importantly, I wish you the best of luck in retirement and all that you choose to pursue. And I'm so happy that your family and friends came out tonight too. So. I would, of course, open that up for the board to add any comments as well.
So I'll just start us off by saying I have known you a fraction of your career. However, I will say that I have been so incredibly impressed with the tremendous amount of work that has gone in under your leadership to develop a strong and rigorous curriculum that has led, again, to thousands of students' success, to our ratings as a exceptional school district. I mean, there are countless efforts that we could probably spend an hour here listing off over the past 33 years, but I will tell you personally, I'm very grateful for the work that you've done for us in our district, and as much as it is sad for us, it's great for you, and we're very excited. I'm very excited for your retirement. I wish you the best.
I would just say thank you for everything, and how incredible, I don't know if I've ever met anybody that's stayed their whole career at some place. Right?
Not too much anymore. Not too much anymore. Right.
I was just saying, that's really a neat thing, and what a legacy to leave behind. So thank you for everything.
I would just echo Tim's sentiments, and also to say, Scott, that I have spent a little bit more time with you two at the table, and that in a lot of the challenges that we faced, and certainly through COVID times and things like that, that you were always pulling up your sleeves and willing to just drop everything to help and make sure that our students had what they needed. And you really did turn around some miracles for us over the years. So I really do appreciate that, and definitely wish you the best of luck on a new adventure, and enjoy some time. But we also know you're not far, so you could come back if you ever want to just pop by.
During the day, there's going to be random people showing up.
Possibly, Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. We're new board members here, so I haven't worked hard that long with you, but the work that you have done and what you're sharing, really appreciate and thank you. And good luck on your future endeavors.
Absolutely, Scott. You've set a very high bar. Thank you so much for all your efforts and all your hard work.
Okay.
I just, if I could, new board members as well, but we did have some interactions on CLTs the last couple of years, and just sitting here listening to that, realizing that 2 years after I left this campus is when you started. And if I think of it in that light, wow, that's a long time ago. So thank you for everything. As President Abora said, it's gotten better under your tutelage, so we'll do our best to keep it going in that direction. Thank you.
I would just take a minute to recognize Christine and Mary Alice, who work closely with Scott. And thank you for being here tonight. And then Scott's wife, Patty, and daughters Lily and Jenna here supporting him as well. And as we know, Scott is the second most important Eggerding to be leading LT this year.
Most important this week.
Scott, congratulations again. And then finally, tonight is the board's final regular action meeting of the 24-25 school year, which concludes what's been an eventful, successful, and certainly at times challenging school year as always. In your packet, Dr. Tyrell has provided an academic, athletic, and extracurricular overview of the year. A little bit later tonight, she's going to get a chance to share some of those amazing highlights. But with that in mind, I just want to share my appreciation to our board, to our leadership team, to our staff, our students, our parent guardians, and our community for everything that went into this year. Each year when we begin a new school year in August, just like every year, it's really impossible to predict all the twists and turns that are going to take or that are going to occur throughout the year. I think at the end of the day, though, we all have this unbelievable responsibility and opportunity to shape the hearts and minds of our students and our community in amazing ways. And this takes dedication and commitment, but it also takes some resolve to continue to make decisions that benefit 4,000 students, 400 staff, and the 11 communities that we serve. And so I'm really proud of the work that this board does on a day-to-day basis, our leadership team, our staff, students, and community do on an annual basis as well. And I think just as importantly, I hope that all of you have an amazing summer, feeling proud of what we've accomplished this year, but also really excited about the work we have in front of us when we return in August. So I wish everyone a great summer, and that concludes my superintendent report for this evening.
Very good. Okay, we will now move on to our unfinished business items, and we will begin this evening with the consideration of approval of the amended FY25 district budget. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Alboris. So as you recall, back in May, we adopted a tentative amended budget for the FY25 year. And again, just as a refresher, FY25 refers to the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, going through June 30th of 2025. So that fiscal year will be coming to a close here in just a couple of weeks. And so we adopted the tentative amended budget. I'm happy to say at this point that some of the expense for insurance that we were seeing has actually come down a little bit, which is a good thing. I still don't know what that means for next year's budget, but we're going to have to look at that, and I'll take this a little bit while we can get this. And so really, there were two main reasons for amending the budget this year. Number one was the addition of the projects that we had approved after this year's budget was approved. And so we were adding cost in for that, $8 million of cost in for that. Also, transfer, we'll talk about that in a second. And then initially I had talked to the board about adding $3.5 million of costs for insurance. We've backed that down to $2.5 million at this point. And so we're happy about that. The other two additions there were $500,000 for student transportation costs and $500,000 for out-of-district tuition programs. So those were the expenses that were added to the budget, the amended budget. I did add in one additional transfer of expense. The net here is zero against the budget itself. But I took $700,000 out of the capital expense in the O&M fund, and I moved that into the education fund. And I say that it may be needed there because I'm hopeful that some of the new furniture for the addition at South Campus will make it here before the end of June 30th. Originally had it budgeted down in the O&M fund, and so we're just moving that up to the education fund. So that net is zero. It's $700,000 from one fund, $700,000 into another fund. So again, there's no additional cost there other than just simply moving that amongst line items. And then finally, the transfer, as we talked about, we still needed $5 million from our South Campus projects that started in 2024, which were the bond sale projects. And so that $5 million plus $13.6 million for the summer projects this year gave us a total of an $18.6 million transfer, both of those coming from the education fund and the O&M fund, $5 million from the O&M fund and $13.6 from the education fund. We've already handled that transfer at a prior meeting where we had a public hearing on that, and then have since approved that and transferred that money, but this is just reflecting it in the budget. All that being said, we're currently showing a $2.9 million deficit in this budget. I don't ultimately think that's the final case here. I think I'm hopeful that we'll be better than that in terms of looking at, when we finally put all this together, we look at all the revenues, whatever expense we don't use, that sort of thing. And so we'll certainly update the board, try to provide something in August, at least on a cash basis to the board for an update. That won't include all of the accruals because we go through all that with the auditors in September, but we can at least give an update on the cash basis on how the district operated that year. Again, those won't be the final financial statement numbers, but it'll start to give you a pretty good picture in terms of how things look closing out the FY25 year. That being said, be happy to answer any questions on the FY25 amended budget that you may have.
That's good news on the insurance.
It's helpful, since we talked about it, it started coming down a little bit, so maybe if we keep talking about it.
I was just gonna say, if we extend this
I
conversation,
don't-
do we think we can
yeah.
make it go down even more?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
And I did also include in here, there was a request for some information about the last 10 years of medical insurance and what that looked like in the district, the budget to actual for district expense. So I have included that in there, the last 10 years plus the 24-25 year, which of course is not closed yet. So those numbers on that page you can see were effective
14.
through May of 2025. It's, I'm not sure what page it is, but it's right after the budget summary there.
Right here. Great, thank you.
And so you can see how 24-25 is running right now, where when you look at that, $1.9 million over budget through May. And so that's where we're adding that additional money to in those budget line items that make up that total dollar amount. But you can see here the last 10 years how it looks. And so if you actually take all of those years, the prior 10 years from 14-15 through 23-24, I think there's about a $600,000 positive difference. And so over a 10-year period, that's actually really pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Just this year, of course,
Right, right.
we're seeing a little bit of a different kind of year this year. A real outlier, as you can see, in terms of where we are.
We're gonna keep a pulse on that, because we talked about that, yeah. We have to decide if that's gonna be something that we would need to be considering going forward.
Yeah, that's some,
Can you speak up, please?
Oh, sorry. I just,
I didn't hear what you
Brian's
said.
right next to me. Just that I said this is something we're gonna consider going forward, reviewing and keeping an eye on.
we are, yes. Yeah, we're working on next year's numbers, so the immediate numbers, and then also looking at some potential other options for the district
Right.
for health insurance costs.
Yeah. I mean, I love what we've been doing all along, but I think it's something that we have to definitely look at as an alternative option for sure.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
thanks.
Other questions, comments, concerns? And at this point, our fund balance, we're keeping that status quo.
Yes. It would be reflected in the budget document that it actually drops down. And if you look at the final amended budget by fund summary,
Yep.
you would see that down at the bottom of that page as well.
54, I'm trying to see the pay, I was just looking at it. The projected one, correct?
It's on I'm not sure what page it is, but it's on the amended, final amended budget by fund summary, so it's a spreadsheet that has
Page 13.
each one of the funds in it.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Still over 51 million, 52, almost 52 million.
Yeah.
Is the ending fund balance.
Okay.
Thank you.
If we don't have any more questions, we have a motion to approve the final amended FY25 budget as presented.
So move.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giamatti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Kazelka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Brian.
Stashak, for your work on that. Our next consideration of approval item is the second reading of the softball field amended donation. Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, this is another example of something the board's already talked about, but in February of 2024, the board provided authorization for the development of bid specs and approved a $2 million donation agreement to design and construct a new girls varsity softball field at South Campus. So we've been working the last year to do the planning and design on this facility. On Thursday, May 22nd, bids were open. The base project came back at a total cost of a little over $2 million. In addition, we had put out for bid a variety of alternates, which included like an expanded grandstand, press box, scoreboard, sound system, lighting system. Those alternates came back at a total cost of a little over $710,000, bringing the total projected cost to about $2.7 million total. And as I announced at the June 2nd committee of the whole meeting, in addition to that original $2 million donation, the Baker family has expressed interest in donating an additional $1 million so that the base project and all alternate items can be included in the project. And again, we're just extremely grateful for their generosity and so excited about the amazing facility that our student athletes and girls softball are going to experience here very soon. So tonight we're first asking the board to approve the donation, the amended donation agreement. We'll do that first and then we'll talk about the construction. So
Okay.
with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I just wanted to state like how touched I was by it. And I really just thought what a lovely legacy that the family's leaving behind. So I just wanted to share that again. It was really, I don't know, very moving and, I loved it.
Well said.
Yes, indeed.
It's awesome.
Okay. I would echo your sentiments as well. Having them here last meeting was just, it was extraordinarily touching. That being said, can we have a motion to approve the softball field amended donation agreement as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Kennedy, I'm sorry, yes, Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member T95,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Gazelka Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Very exciting. Next is consideration of approval for the contract with Henry Brothers for the varsity softball field project. Brian Stachat.
Thank you, President Elboris. And so as Dr. Waterman was just talking about, for this particular project, bids were opened on May 22nd here in the boardroom. And the low bid for that project, for the softball field project, was Henry Brothers in the amount of $1,427,000, along with alternate number one for an additional $4,600. Also, as we talked about, there are a variety of other systems, other items, including grandstands, bleachers, netting poles, synthetic turf, scoreboard, video board, AV systems, and lighting that will be purchased through purchasing cooperatives. And that total is another $1,346,552 for a total cost, including the Henry Brothers bid and all of those additional items, for a total cost of $2,778,152. And as I point out here, of the $3 million in grant, we would anticipate that the other $220,000 is going to be used for fees, architect fees, project cost fees, that sort of thing. And so really, what we would be asking, obviously, the board to approve tonight would be the contract with Henry Brothers at the $1,431,600 mark, and then also the additional expenditures for with the cooperatives in the amount of $1,346,552 for that total of $2,778,152, which will cover really all of the items that we had hoped to get into the project. We had talked initially, and I think we talked to the board about this last time, that we were looking at the potential of having to maybe not have all of these other items in there based upon the fact that we had the $2 million donation. And now with a $3 million donation, we can cover everything that we want to put in here, so.
Very good. All right.
Any idea, Brian, why Martam's alternate was so high?
Don't
compared
know.
to-
Yeah, I
I'm
know,
just
I know. I don't know.
I mean, it just doesn't, it
Yeah.
just seems a little odd, like as if they thought they were expecting something different, but.
And they may have done that, I don't know.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, and all we're talking about is
variance
just the
there, yeah.
zinc-coated components for the
Right.
wire, and that was
Right.
it, so.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a little odd, but,
Yeah.
okay. But
Sometimes
I
it
feel
happens.
good that the other two were kind of more in line, so I know that they
Right.
were understanding that correctly.
All right. So, if we don't have any more questions or comments, can we have a motion to approve the contract with Henry Brothers Company in the amount of $1,431,600 as presented, and approve the additional cooperative expenditures for this project in the amount of $1,346,552 as presented, for a total project cost of $2,778,152.
So move.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Consultant Campbell.
Yes.
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Giamatti Frye.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Edwards.
Yes, motion passes. Next is the consideration of approval for additional activities and athletic stipends as recommended by the stipend committee. Ed Piotrowski.
Thank you very much, President Alvarez. As Dr. Waterman mentioned with the donation agreement, this was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting in June. There have been no changes to the recommendation, but as a reminder, we are recommending the creation of 4 club or activity stipends for clubs that are coming out of pilot years, as well as the creation of assistant coach stipends for football, flag football, volleyball, and lacrosse, as well as the creation of an intramural sponsor stipend for flag football. All of those because of the growing nature of all of those sports and activities. Happy to answer any questions that the board might have at this time.
I think we had a really
think so.
good discussion
Yeah.
about this, right? There was a lot of great clubs and activities coming out of this. We talk about our, wanting our students to have that sense of belonging and connectedness to our school. I think these are great avenues for that to happen, so.
Absolutely agree.
Any other questions or thoughts on that? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the recommendations for additional activities and athletic stipends in the amount of $71,501.79 as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Consultant Campbell.
Yes.
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Giamatti Frye.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Edwards.
Yes. Motion passes. Next, thank you and your committee. Next is a consideration of approval of the recommended changes to the 25-26 LTHS Student Handbook. Leslie Owens. Dr. Owens.
Thank you, President Alborz. We talked about this at the Committee of the Whole meeting on June 2nd, where I presented a little bit of history of how my office came to be the keeper of the handbook and the process that we've tried to put in place over the last 3 years to make sure that we keep our handbook up to date and aligned with board policy, any changes in legal changes, things like that. And part of that includes that triennially, we want to have our attorney, and Jennifer Rosenberg was here at that Committee of the Whole, review the entire handbook and make sure everything is in alignment. This year's a little off because the next item on the action agenda is actually some of the Press 118 policy updates. So some of the student handbook is waiting on those to be officially approved, and then we'll slot those in. But the chart remains the same as it was presented on June 2nd with all the changes that have been made to each of the sections, and then the pending changes based on approval and some conversations we need to have as an administrative team based on those policy changes over the summer. But we will have our finished handbook ready to go live on August 1st, as we do each summer. And all of the changes that are outlined will be in there. So we are asking for the board to approve that, even though it's not in completely final format yet. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that may have come up between then and now.
Dr. Owens, remind me again how our students have access to it when the new version goes live in August?
It goes up on the website. We have some paper copies that we can certainly provide paper copies, but it used to be, part of the handbook would be in our, sort of our student planner, and we don't do that anymore. Keeping it electronic, that gives us some translation options that we didn't have before when they were in paper copies, but.
Typically, we send either a targeted email or include that within an email that goes to our community, students and families as well, that shares the updated link. And then,
Great.
at times we've shared if there are big changes within the handbook, we would note some of those changes as well, just to draw people's attention to any evolution within the handbook. So we would envision doing that again, and actually families had the opportunity to sign off on
are on the version that's live now through the OLR process. So we would just then be sending them the updated handbook at the beginning of the school year.
Okay, great. Yeah, I do recall doing that as part of the process. I wasn't sure if you still did that when you do the student fees, if that's part of it, so,
I
okay.
do. And then the code of conduct is even more sort of highlighted for students who are participating in activities or athletics to make sure that that is signed off on and that they're
Yeah.
well aware, both students and their parents and guardians, of the code of conduct.
And they get, because they do get that information before they actually begin their activities, right? Doesn't that come out? I remember signing something like that for my daughter, I think.
Yeah,
So-
when they sign their registration
Yeah.
form, that
They have to
information
do
is
the code of
embedded
conduct.
within that
Okay.
form.
Thanks.
No, we had a good discussion on this before. Any other comments, questions?
I'm just really grateful that this process has been, you guys have been working on it for a few years now, 3 years at least, and that it's
Team
really
effort, for sure.
long. It's really been needed, and I think having a really comprehensive student handbook with a code of conduct, really just sets expectations, the right expectations for how our students treat each other and how we operate as a school community.
For sure. Thank you.
So thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. There's a ton of work that goes into it. It's a very meaty document. I know you've brought in a ton of stakeholders, from parents to community members to staff and students. I think that work really resonates when you go through and read this. It just makes it really useful for our school community. So thank you and all of your efforts and your committee's efforts.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
And I just want to say thank you to, just going back to when I was
Yeah.
first on the board and we talked about it and it was a dream, remember, to have it all where we are today. And you made that dream come true.
That's my job, just
Dream maker, is that what
all love
student handbook specific dreams I can make come true.
So I appreciate that.
And Dr. Child, too. Thank you.
It is, it's an interesting process, I will say. I appreciate, I like things to be aligned, that's my nature and personality, but it really does matter that what we put out there and what we say to students and families aligns all the way through all the things that we do inside our district. And so even though it's just a student handbook, it really becomes an important kind of guidepost for everybody to work from. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate the support of all my teammates who have been definitely very involved in all the different sections.
Great.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the recommended changes to the 25-26 LTHS student handbook as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Kozowski Campbell,
Yes.
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member United Fry,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Next is the consideration of approval of the recommended updates to board policies within Press 118. Dr. Waterman.
I can jump in here. This is something that the board talked about on June 2nd. There were, coming out of the June 2nd meeting, there were 3 recommended changes. There was the update to the residency policy, I believe that's 760. There was the recommendation to the access to electronic use policy, which was the incorporation of AI into the policy as well. What was the third one?
Medication.
And the medication was also. So those 3 recommendations that we talked about, those have been included. You have the clean copies of the policies in your board packet, and those are the policies that we're asking the board to approve tonight, and those will become
Board policy.
Become board policy.
Official. All right. Yeah, again, lengthy discussion on this last time. I appreciated everybody's thoughts and inputs on this, but any resounding questions or concerns? Again, thank you to all, you and your team, and to our attorneys for their work on this. I think we're coming to a pretty strong place on these policies. It was a lot of work going into it, so I appreciate that. Can we have a motion to approve all of the recommended updates to board policies within Press 118 as presented in the board packet for tonight's meeting?
Second?
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Dillon,
Yes.
Member United Fry,
Yes.
Member Kennedy,
Yes.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels. Yes. Member Kozowski Campbell,
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. That concludes our unfinished business. We will now move into our new business for this evening. and we will begin with 2 informational items. Our first informational item is our 24-25 year in review. Dr. Tyrell.
Thank you so much. So I always appreciate the opportunity to share this update with our Board of Education, and each year that I've been fortunate enough to do this, I've done it a little bit differently, highlighting a little bit of a different component of our large-scale co-curricular programs. But as I start and I reflect on graduation, I think we can all agree that we had a beautiful celebration of the class of 2025, and I've shared this story a few times over the course of the last couple of weeks. But one of my favorite moments of the school year is always the last hour and a half that our students and families are on Bennett Field, connecting with each other, sharing hugs, sharing stories, taking pictures with their teachers and coaches and sponsors and paraeducators and all the people that supported them on their journey. It is just awesome to be able to hear. I get to benefit from hearing those conversations that are really filled with gratitude, and they're really about the people, the relationships, the connections, and the experience that they had. And I love being the last person that walks off that field on graduation night, because I get to spend just a little bit more time with that class. So it was a beautiful graduation for a very special class that accomplished a ton within their career here at LT. They really contributed to evolving our culture here. They excelled academically, athletically, within activities, but they also left this place a better place than they found it 4 years ago, and that's a really special thing. The one number that I'll share from the class of 2025, and I said this at commencement, is that they will utilize $22,477,000 towards its future educational goals. And that is just, it's extraordinary when you think about the collective contributions that went towards that, and they earned it. It's a really special class, and they've been rewarded in many ways, some of them financial. Another celebration that we have this year when we look at our large-scale activities program is that we had over 84% of our students participate in at least one co-curricular athletic activity, co-curricular or athletic activity. That's really, that number is extremely high. We've set lofty goals within our strategic planning process to continue to increase that number, and it has increased. And it's really hard to do that, to find a number over 80% when you don't have an activity period built in the school day. And our aspirational work there is to work with those students who are not participating in our activities program and find out maybe why they're not participating, and continue to help them find those things that will enhance their experience here at LT. When we look at percentage of students who have participated in some aspect of our program that adds special events in, we're over 90%. So that is a really big celebration. It's a data point that we value. It's a data point that our kids value. When they talk about their experiences here at LT and the well-rounded experiences that they've had, they talk about their classroom experience, they talk about the people, but they also talk about their participation within our activities. So just wanted to highlight that. This year, I just want to share a little bit. Every year, I highlight a different category of our activities programs. This year, I just want to share about a few different events. So many of our co-curriculars have special events that they host throughout the year. Some you may have heard about, and some you've probably not heard about. And these aren't your large-scale events. We have a lot of traditional events here at LT, our all-school assembly, our homecoming events, which are parade and dance, our prom. Student council puts on most of those. We have a lot of those, but we also have a lot of organizations who are invested in creating events that build community for those students that are part of their organizations, and honestly, some members of our greater LT community as well. Our Dungeons and Dragons Club, they host a Lion Con event, which has become a really cool event within our school community, where for either a day or two in the winter, students connect in the corral and play board games. We have vendors. They have the opportunity to connect. We invite community representatives. They even have an opportunity for kids from the community to come and play board games as well. So that's something that's become a traditional event here at LT with a club that you probably don't hear a ton about. Many of you know about our beautiful Eurythmic shows. This year, once again, our Eurythmic shows that are a staple on our calendar were sold out. They were gorgeous. They always are. The productions are those types of productions that you would see in professional dance companies. Our girls in engineering, math, and science, our GEMS club each year, and I love attending this event, hosts middle school students for their annual Introduce a Girl to STEM Day. And this is all student run, student leaders within the club put together science experiments and labs for students from our local middle schools to be able to participate in and really just hook our students into the curricular and co-curricular aspects of that before they're even students here. The students do all of the articulation with the associate schools. They reach out, they find the students who are interested, and they facilitate an awesome opportunity for students to connect within our school community. You probably hear a bit, and I share updates within my weekly communications about our Model UN program. They host a huge conference, Lyman, and Lyman has about 500 students from across the state that attend this conference here at North Campus, and really that is all student run as well. And that's a theme that you see when we talk about our co-curricular organizations. We have amazing sponsors, amazing coaches who are passionate about their organizations, but something that sets LT apart is the student leadership and the way that they truly facilitate and run their organizations side by side the adults with appropriate guidance from them. So our Lyman conference is always a huge conference when you talk about the network of Model United Nation conferences in the state. Our PSI group hosts a bunch of events. They host PSI forums. Those are an opportunity. We've talked a lot about student voice. We'll continue talking about student voice. Any opportunity that we can cultivate student voice within our school community is really important. So our PSI group hosts student forums where members of our administrative team and other staff members will participate in panel discussions and learn about the things that students really like about their experience here at LT and the things that maybe they desire to evolve in their experience here. So those are a great opportunity always for our administrative team. Another event that has become kind of a yearly event on my and lots of people's calendars are Step Into the Lion's Den competition. So we always do an awesome job of putting on a beautiful, beautiful step show in our Reber Center, and our step team does an awesome job of that every year. Our student council partners with our Older Adult Connections to host a senior citizen prom. That was kind of
So cool.
That was kind of a traditional event that resurged as of late, and I'll tell you, members of our community, our senior citizens really enjoy it, appreciate it, and the smiles on their faces are really something special. And something that continues to grow and grow, our multicultural festival, and there's not one organization that's responsible for that. I think it's a beautiful representation of who we are and what we believe here at LT, but it's an opportunity for many of our cultural clubs to come together, to celebrate, to share culture, to sing, to dance, to share food, and really learn about each other in a really special and connected way. And that's something that we think will only continue to grow from here on out. So just wanted to share a few of the events that maybe we don't uncover as much as some of the other events that take place here at LT. From an athletics standpoint, we once again had a very successful athletics year. 8 teams had top 10 finishes in the state, 7 of which IHSA and 1 Coaches Association. So our girls swimming and diving team placed 5th place at IHSA state. Our football team had a record-breaking season. They finished in the Elite 8 of the 8A division. Our boys cross-country team finished in 7th place in the state. Competitive cheer, 10th place. POMS, 7th place. Boys gymnastics, 9th place. Girls water polo, 2nd place. We were right there. We almost won that state championship. It was absolutely phenomenal at Stevenson against Stevenson a few weeks back. And boys lacrosse was our last team in action this year and made it to the Elite 8 and had a fantastic run. It's really special that so many of our teams finished in the top 10, but really we talk all the time. We want our teams to be competitive. We love when they're competitive. It's super fun to win trophies, but the experiences that our students have because of our athletics program, because of our activities program, our fine arts program, really truly are second to none. And I'll just leave you with one thing. I don't take lightly the opportunity to be your principal and to have a front row seat to all of our students' events activities, athletics, performances, concerts, all of those things. What we have here is really special, and I love supporting our students, and I feel very fortunate to be able to do that, and our students and staff together had a wonderful year. Thank you.
Incredible year.
Yeah, I will just tell you, when you look at that list, it's like you could probably put us up to maybe 10 different schools, and they still combined don't have some of the accomplishments that we have this year. I mean, it is remarkable. And I will just say, in going to multiple graduation parties already this year, every time they bring up something, they say, that Tyrell, I'm sure you hear that so many times. How does she get to
They're
every?
sure there's a
she's-
clone.
Right, like how
There's
does
gotta
she?
be a clone.
So you are very appreciated in your
So much.
your energy, your ability to go out there and be representation of all the amazing things that are happening at this district.
I feel that appreciation. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. And one of our students started a rumor that I have a twin.
Yeah.
Truly, a couple people asked me at graduation, so does your twin come to events? Or, I don't have a twin.
But wouldn't it be great if you could offload some of what you do to the twins?
Hey, it was an idea. I thought it was a great idea if I only had the capacity to do that. But no, I appreciate that, and I don't take that lightly. I appreciate how our families and students feel.
If you had $1 every time you heard it, I'm sure you.
It's also commendable to all the sponsors and
Yeah.
coaches and
Yep.
all of you that provide such incredible guidance. Yes, it's the students and it's the families and everybody, taking charge, but your foundation of your leadership and your support is so appreciated.
Thank you. It takes everybody, right? The support of everybody to be able to have an academic program guide that we have with the academic offerings and then continue to approve more clubs, more stipends, more opportunities for students. And we tell kids all the time, if we don't have it and you want it
Right.
and there's a need,
Make
we'll
it
figure
happen.
out a way. And that's truly what this board has done. It's figured out a way to create the opportunities for kids to find their places and their passions and to be able to explore those when they're here with us.
I'm only just going to add a shout out to the Pollinator Club because
Oh,
this
good.
spring,
Yeah.
they're probably not watching our meeting tonight, but I wish that they were because I wish they would just come and plant more and more because it looks gorgeous.
It
Every
does.
spring now, the I think it was trees a few years ago, and just like all the things that they've been adding have been really beautifying the campuses. So keep doing it. If pollinators listening, I'm sure, like I said, they're totally on summer break. They're not, but if
I'm
we can
really
get
glad
that
you
word
said
out.
that. Patrick Page and the students in that organization have devoted
Yeah.
and dedicated so much time, and you can tell, like, there is a visible beautification product.
People
and
who
they
don't have kids are telling me don't have students here are telling me how beautiful it looks. So
It
thank
looks
you
great,
to
and he
them.
spends, and they spend a
That's
ton of time.
Great.
He might be out there right now.
Probably. It's good
Probably.
night.
You recognize
getting
him
it
at the
ready to
April
go,
meeting,
right?
The
Can't
March
listen.
meeting,
Right.
March meeting.
What do
March
you mean?
meeting,
Like,
yeah.
is he like weeding and making it all
Yeah,
beautiful?
right. They
but
can't listen.
listen.
Yeah, exactly. No. Pass that along if they aren't listening. So thank you.
Okay.
you.
Thank you again for all the work that you put into sharing our amazing celebrations this year. Our final informational item is related to the services that are provided by our Special Education Cooperative, the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, LADSI. I will turn it over to Dr. Waterman for more information.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to briefly say, so District 204 serves as the fiscal agent and is a member of the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education, or affectionately known as LADSI. So on an annual basis in June, typically Dr. Ambule, Mr. Peronich are here to present the tentative budget, and then they come back in August to present the final budget. But I thought we would try something different this year where we would share kind of an overview of what LADSI, in general, the services that LADSI provides, but then specifically how we use those services. So what we're going to do is a couple things. The first agenda item is more informational, where again, Dr. Ambule is going to share kind of an overview of just all the different services that LADSI provides to all member districts. Dr. Owens then is going to share a little bit about how we use LADSI services at LT. And then the next agenda item is an action item where both Dr. Ambule and Mr. Peronich will provide an overview of the tentative budget for LADSI, the FY26 tentative budget, go through that process, and then they will come back in August to ask the board to consider approving the FY26 final budget. So with that, I'll turn it over to, I think, both Dr. Ambule and Dr. Owens to get us started. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Absolutely, happy to be here, and tough act to follow, Sorry, special ed now, but anyway, I'm happy to be here and tell you a little bit about our organization, LADSI. I am just finishing my 8th year as executive director, and am proud to be a part of such a great organization and really appreciative of LT's support of it. LADSI is actually the first cooperative that was created in the state of Illinois, right around a few others, but we were the first. C. Lewis Martin, who was the superintendent at LaGrange 102, had idea to provide services for students with special needs long before a federal law created that as an entitlement in the 70s. So we currently have 15 member districts. That's just down by 2 from our original 17. Hinsdale 181 and 86 decided to go independent about 15 years ago and provide their own services, but otherwise our membership has been steady and strong over the past many years. About just under 3,500 students with IEPs within our 15 member districts. And LADSI touches every single one of those students through state reporting, through support to our districts, but also directly supports those students and many of those students through direct services and through programming we provide. We have about 400 employees. So we're a pretty large organization compared to our member districts. LT and maybe 102 are only larger than us staffing-wise and budget-wise. So in terms of what we do, I kind of categorize it into, we have our going through my, I'm not sure who's moving the PowerPoint. Sorry.
Yeah, let me know if I'm going too fast. Let me know.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Our directing board goals that have been approved, we revised them a few years ago through some strategic work, but focused on being transparent to our member districts. It's critically important to me, to Nick, my business manager, and to our organization that our districts understand what they are spending their money on, what services they're receiving, and how we can tailor those to best meet the needs of the kids. We only exist because our member districts need us. And so we really need to make sure that we're listening to those needs and adjusting our services accordingly. And then, providing those custom programs and services, having an accountability system so that we can demonstrate success and make sure that we're satisfying our district's needs. We feel very strongly, as LT does, about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and put that in as a part of our directing board goals in terms of not only how we serve our families, but how we support our organization, our staff members, and our community. In terms of what LADSI does, it's hard to put it into really succinct terms, but really 4 buckets is where I would place LADSI and what we're doing. First, and what takes up quite a bit of our time and our energies, is the programs we offer. And we provide services to kids 3 through age almost 23 years old now, thanks to some changes in special education law in Illinois in the past couple of years. But provide early childhood, so 3 to 5 years old. We have some programs that are specific for students on the autism spectrum, for students with developmental delays, so just kind of global delays. And then we have a unique program called the phonological program that works with students age 3 to 5 who have just specific speech articulation needs. And there's enough students that really benefit from a model that we operate where they can very successfully move on to speech therapy-free education from kindergarten on because of the therapy they receive as early childhood. Kindergarten through 8th grade, we have 3 primary programs that we operate for our districts. And these are programs that serve students where 1 or 2 of our districts might have a few kids here, a few kids here. They don't have enough kids in any one grade level to create a classroom and really have it be an efficient, effective way of providing services to students. And that's really one of the reasons a co-op exists, is saying that putting a group of districts together and how can we best meet the needs of our students. And 107 might have 1 or 2 students with some significant needs.
either, developmental disabilities, autism, emotional development needs. 106 might have a couple, 103 might have a couple. We have other districts outside of the LT area. We're able to create classrooms and programming for those students and make it cohesive for the kiddos and really provide nice continuity of services. We've really expanded our high school programming in the past 8 years that I've been at LADSI, which I'm proud of. It's always been something that LADSI wanted to explore. We really wanted to be able to meet the needs of LT and Riverside Brookfield, our other high school. We've always had some transition support, so you operate your own transition programming for students 18 to 22 that have some special needs. We provide placements out in the community. We have several transition placements where we provide job coaching and supports for students to get real-time vocational experiences out in the community that your students come in to attend. And then we also support with those students accessing community-based services and services in the adult world so that when they graduate from LT and take their diploma, they have whatever supports they can possibly get from the state of Illinois to be as independent as possible. But we've developed a new program called LRB Academy, which is our therapeutic day school. It's located over in LaGrange Park at the old St. Louis de Marillac School. And we have about 35 high school students, around 20 each year, from 20 to 25 from LT, and the others coming from Riverside Brookfield. Students who are really struggling with functioning in the larger environment of a gen ed high school. So these are a lot of students that are in school refusal mode. They just can't. It's just incredibly difficult for them to get through the doors of a building, and the pressures and the trauma that they've potentially experienced. It's creating this smaller environment, a really connected environment where we can work on the academics, but also work on the social emotional growth. So that's been really successful. We're just finishing year 5. We actually opened LRB Academy in COVID year, so it was a crazy start to the academy, but going strong and expanding and really partnering with LT and RB very well in that program. We've worked quite a bit with Melissa Moore on that, and also Leslie. We run a deaf, hard of hearing program at Hinsdale District 86, so even though 86 is not a member of LADSI anymore, we have a deaf, hard of hearing program for students in high school that's been in place since the mid-60s, and it's exciting. We have teachers there that went to school at Hinsdale South and saw the ASL programming, saw the students with deaf, hard of hearing needs, and went into that career field. It's just been an amazingly successful program. And then we have a program called Project Search. It's a small program, but it operates out of Chicago Advent. I can't get the name correct anymore. The old LaGrange Hospital down the street. It's got a long name now. They host a classroom for us where we have 8 to 12 students that go to they go to school there, but we don't call it school. We call it an internship, and they spend a year interning in different departments in the hospital, and we're really working on their social skills. They have good work skills, but they maybe need a lot of work in social skills in order to be successful adults in the workplace. And the goal of that program is for students to be able to graduate and be able to take on a minimum 20-hour per week part-time job, and sometimes more than that. And we've been remarkably successful in having those students find work in the community and be successful at it and be contributing members back to community despite sometimes significant disabilities. So I spent a little bit more time talking about our programs because that's near and dear to my heart. But we also do a number of other things at LADSI. Purchase services. We had a discussion this year about school psychology and LT, and that is one service that we provided to you as a purchase service, and now you are taking that on yourselves, which I think is great. I'm very supportive of that. I've been talking about that for a number of years, so I'm glad that that's finally moving forward. I think that's a really smart move. But there are other districts, particularly our smaller districts, that might not need a full-time psychologist. You need a number of school psychologists. A district of 500 students or 700 students doesn't necessarily need a full-time psychologist. And so we're able to do, 3 days a week at one district and 2 days a week at another district and really be able to blend those positions to meet our district's needs. Same with a number of other different kinds of purchase services, some of which LT uses, speech, OT, PT, and then some other supports and services, nursing, interpreters. Then moving on to district services. So the purchase services are ones where our districts have a unique need and they say, LADSI, please go find this person. And the purchase services are really people. The district services might be people, but they also might be other sort of supports that we offer. So we have consult teams that work with students on assistive technology. We have autism behavior consultants. We provide early childhood evaluations to our districts. RAP supports is a unique program where we have where we see that students have families that are really struggling, and the student is struggling in school because the family is struggling, or they are in part struggling in school because the family is struggling. We have social workers that can be brought into the case to really try and help the family access resources in the community with the end goal of having the child be more successful in the school. And that works from early childhood through high school. We have RAP supports happening. Vocational supports I mentioned, and then some things that are not as direct to children, but are very important. We provide all the state reporting to Illinois. Illinois collects a lot of data, and they also provide reimbursement to districts, including LT, and LADSI is in charge of making sure that all that state reporting is accurate when it comes to special education. We also support help with districts in the IDEA grant, which is the large federal grant that LT and our other districts receive, and we have a few other grants that support our students. And then we also coordinate transportation services for most of our students who need special education transportation. Not all kids in special ed need that transportation support, but some do, and we coordinate that piece. And then finally, we provide quite a bit of professional development. Just to sum it up, LADSI-wide, so within our organization, we provide things that are unique to districts. So LT has on many occasions called us up and said, hey, we have an Institute Day coming up. Can you do something on this topic? Can you work with this group of people at our building? And we're happy to help and partner and provide that support. We're looking, sometimes at our program specific of how we can build expertise in autism or trauma-informed practices. And then we have a unique thing called our Strands, which is professional development that is by LADSI for LADSI. So we offer stipends to our staff to create courses that people can voluntarily attend, where they are learning information, completing homework. It's almost like a college course. And so those are really our 4 buckets of things that we do at LADSI, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry if I talked too fast.
Again, that was the purpose, right? Just to kind of share, an overview of here's what LADSI does, and questions for Dr. Ambuel before we turn it over to Dr. Owens. Go ahead, Jill.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you. As a family that has, all 4 of my children have gotten some kind of services from LADSI, from, my daughter having hearing loss to, my one child that had RAP services. So, and to my one son that works at the high school, in Brookfield. But, it's really been so instrumental in our life and the success of my children that, it's really incredible that we can have all those services. So thank you.
I would only add, Dr. Ambuel, thank you for all the work that you guys do. I actually got to hear this year for the first time firsthand from someone whose child was part of Project Search, 2 of them actually, and had nothing but amazing things to say about how that process went, and that they are just they were over the moon about it. So I hope it will continue to do it. I guess I just wondered too, is the Project Search opportunities, are those limited? Do they only take a certain number of students? How does that?
It is limited. We have a cap of 12 students each year, and we'll push it to 13 if we have the 13. It's really a criteria-based program. It really, you apply for the program as a student, and there's a little bit of an application process that goes along with it. It was originally designed exclusively for young adults with autism, recognizing that they might have the work skills but not the social skills to be successful in the environment. And it's actually an international program that LADSI picked up. We were one of the very first Project Search programs in Illinois.
Awesome.
So we've expanded the definition a little bit to get just beyond specifically for autism, but what we're looking for is it is not a one-to-one program, and that's, I think, the biggest thing, is that when we go into the hospital, we have a classroom 45-minute period, and then those kids, our interns, go off into their departments, and we have adults that are checking in on them throughout the day, but they are expected to comply with rules, follow directions, problem solve, and of course, they're learning those things a bit too, but these are not students that have to have, and there are some kids that do, and that's okay, but this program is for kids that can be a bit more independent, because the goal is really part-time employment, if not more.
And is it limited to Advent Hospital that's the partner for this? Is that it's theirs?
That's our partner
So it's
for
not
this.
like, yeah, I was gonna say, it's not other fields or anything at this point.
Not at this point, and that's how the model of Project Search was created. There have been, what works well for Project Search is to have a large company
Yeah.
or a
makes
hospital where you have
sense.
lots of different departments. So you can
Right.
do
Mhm.
PT, and you can do patient rehab, and you can do receptionist, or you
Yeah.
can do the cafeteria. So that's what works well for it. My previous life, we had a Project Search program at Northwestern University, which kind of same idea. You know, you can
Yeah.
go into different departments. But what we do for students who are not Project Search, the right fit for Project Search, is that's where our vocational program comes in, and partnering with LT. So we have sites at the Marriott and the Hilton and Loyola University Medical Center, and many community places. You know, you go into Great American Bagel and you'll see some LT kids working there. So we try to provide as much opportunity as we can to get kids out in the community and working.
That's great. And the student I spoke with who was like so excited about the work that she did at the hospital, and
really
even
neat.
interacted with some of the patients and the whole bit. So it was really great. Thank you.
Yeah, I was second that. I mean, at our graduation, we got some really great, got to hear from the students and their mentors and the whole program. I know we use Project Search in my district as well, and just think it's a phenomenally successful program. I guess the only other questions, and again, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I know for years working in this industry how connected and successful you are providing services to school districts. LRB, what does that stand for? I'm just curious.
What does it stand for?
Yeah.
It's really complicated. It's Lyons, Riverside, Brookfield.
That was what I was going to guess.
Was it?
CRB was
I
a little
was
bit too
gonna
much,
guess.
Lyons,
so we
Riverside,
went
Brookfield.
LRB.
I like that. I
I
like
had
that.
to ask. It was valid.
I
And
was
then
gonna say that.
the
Good question.
services that we use through your, are those all federally funded IDEA grant funds that we're using to pay for those services, or how does that work?
It's a combination
Okay.
of different funds that you're using. So definitely a portion of your IDEA grant is coming to LADSI to offset some of the costs that you spend. So, for example, your occupational therapy services you purchase from LADSI, physical therapy, those are two, OT and PT are two ones that are typically come out of the grant. So that grant is literally being written as we speak, and will get reviewed and approved by LT administration and be filed. But it is not the entire grant. You have a pretty large grant, and so a portion of it will come to LADSI to offset costs, but then you keep a number of that to offset your own
Internal,
special ed
right.
costs. We do have two federal vocational grants, a workplace initiative grant called WIOA, and then we have some grants through the Department of Rehabilitative Services in Illinois, DRS. And those provide services to provide counseling to your students here, as students with disabilities are eligible to have a DRS counselor assist them with what is their pathway going to be. Some of our kids with IEPs don't need those services at all, but a lot of them do. And so helping them to say, what pathway and how can we help as you enter into the adult world of either getting a job or going to, whether it be community college or even a four-year college or university. So we have two pretty substantial grants that are unique to LT and RB that also offset your costs that you spend.
Good, thank you.
Maybe a good segue for Leslie there. I don't know if you know.
I appreciate that, and I won't repeat everything that Ellie already reported on. She gave some great LT examples, but in the memo that is included in your packet, just included some of the ways that our students benefit from the services and programs with LADSI, and then also our staff, and then administrative. So students, we've talked about LRB Academy. As Ellie said, we have about 20 students a year that attend LRB. I just want to point out that for us, that was it was a huge benefit when LRB started in terms of having a therapeutic day school that was located close to home. When you're talking about a least restrictive environment for students, that includes distance and how much time they're spending in transportation to and from those therapeutic day schools. And so having something that's close to home and having something that that we know our students are in good hands, that we know the staff that are working at LRB and that we can work with the staff there has been really important for our students and our families. It is always the goal to have students return from a therapeutic day placement back into their home school, and that can be really difficult when the schools are far away, when the schools are not using curriculum that is in any way aligned to our curriculum or our classes here at LT. So it's been wonderful to have LRB Academy and be able to help support that transition for students. We're also able to do part-time programming there when students are stepping away from needing full-time therapeutic day. A virtual option was added. We do have some students in very unique circumstances, and so we've been able to use that as well. So it's been really helpful for us to have that partnership with LRB Academy. Project Search, Ellie talked about it. We have about 2 to 3 students, transition students that participate. Everyone has heard all the wonderful things and saw at our graduation our students who came out of that program. So we will continue in that partnership. It's been wonderful for our students. Related services, we talked about occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech language pathologists, and nurses. When we need a direct or one-to-one nurse for students, we are able to do that through LADSI. So about a third of our special education students, so nearly 150, 170 students receive some type of related services through the professionals that we hire through LADSI or that we work with through LADSI. So that is every single day there are related service personnel within our buildings, part of our IEP teams, and providing services for our students. And then the RAP services, usually I'll say 7 to 10 students a year total have RAP services, and those RAP social workers are also part of the team, working with the team to provide feedback and help make decisions at the IEP table. Autism and behavior consultation and assistive technology, our teams know that if they need that support for students or if they're stuck on what to do with students sometimes and how to continue to make progress towards goals, those are big supports for our teams to be able to call in. For our staff, professional development was mentioned, specifically the Crisis Prevention Institute or CPI training, which works on de-escalation training for our staff, is really important. Individual student health and nursing care, so when students do have health plans, we've had training where LADSI, either OT, PT, or nurses come in to help our staff understand better or understand their role in terms of some of those nursing supports that can be delegated to staff, and then things like lifting students, transferring students in and out of equipment, safe use of equipment for students. Maybe it's a stander or a gait trainer, things like that. So high-tech equipment that our students are using, and obviously we have to be able to use that safely. So that is a huge support for us to have professionals that will come in and train our teams and work alongside our teams. Our paraeducators benefit from professional learning. We've had personnel from LADSI come in to talk to our paraeducators on kind of the prompt hierarchy, or how you begin to move students away from needing prompts to do different tasks throughout their day or within a class period, and how they gain independence, which is also the goal of any IEP, and also for behavior management, and then any other disability-specific guidance. And then again, consulting with our team. So staff can come in from LADSI, the autism consultant, assistive tech consultants can come in and just work with the teams, maybe not directly with students, but help them to learn different things and be able to support students better. So those are really important services for us. Administratively, Dr. Melissa Moore, our division chair for special education, attends monthly leadership meetings that Ellie runs, and that brings together all of the member districts, and they can problem solve and also just be kept abreast of all the changes that are happening, whether legally or to different reports that need to be submitted to the state. We also meet with LADSI every year to determine our purchase service needs, so that is something that occurs annually. State reporting and special transportation, that's a big lift, and it's really, really supportive to us that LADSI takes on the lion's share of that, so we're able to get that child count and all those essential state reports done. And then Embrace is the IEP program that our whole co-op uses. We use here at LT. We do that. Our IEPs and our 504 paperwork runs through Embrace, and so again, just having a larger cooperative that utilizes that software is helpful, or that web-based service is helpful and keeps us on track with all of our dates, annual, triennial, so on and so forth. So, and again, it's ongoing every year. That's the benefit of having a membership with LADSI, is that something that we need one year may not be a need next year because the student who needed that or the students who needed that are no longer here. But that just ebbs and flows, and we're able to have a partner to reach out to and say, this is what we're seeing or this is what we need. And so it's helpful. So I can answer any other specific questions to LT, but I think between the two of us, we covered most of it.
It's just an incredible model.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about what it, how successful and what it actually does. And just like, it really speaks to that community component. I mean, when I look at all the other communities that, you touch, it really keeps us all kind of interconnected. And it really shows just how important it is for us to stay in touch with each other and all the surrounding communities, even those that don't feed like always immediately directly into our school, but just to be there and how supportive we can kind of lift each other up. So thank you for that.
I think, just quickly, that one thing that I think is unique with LT and with RB is that all the sender, so all the feeder school districts come to LT, are members of LADSI. Same thing with RB. We have a few other districts where that's not the case, where they go into different high school districts. We have several other high school districts. But to have all of the feeder districts as a part of the that continuity for the kids and for the families. We have therapists that have known kids since they are 3 or 4 or 5 years old, that can then just, know the history of the student, know the history of the family, and be able to sit down with the LT staff and go, here's what they need, and here's how we can get it set up. And so I think those sorts of, it's a unique community for that reason. I really like that.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say it's interesting being in a single high school district where you don't have a K through 8, with you. And I've been at countless IEP tables where the OT, the PT, somebody who's working with a student is talking about how they started working with that student during early childhood at age 3. And so it's really neat to see them get to see their students go from that really, really early age all the way up through high school graduation.
I think, from a staffing and even a financial perspective, it just makes a lot of sense. Well, there's no way we're going to find a part-time occupational therapist right? You're just not going to find that. And so I think the partnership and collaboration, not only in continuity of care, but from a administrative perspective, I imagine it just makes a lot of good financial and good staffing sense, right? Okay.
I just had one. I commend you on not only all the services, but the presentation today. Thank you for that. I wanted to just ask a little bit about the goal that you mentioned, your 4th goal about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and maybe for another time, but if you could just share with us a little bit more in the future, what that's starting to look like, how that's shaping, things that you're finding are working well and not so well. I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, as I'm sure Ro can speak to quite well. And we've done some consult with LT on it. The landscape has changed quite a bit in the past year, and so we're muddling through, but really committed to it. So it's we're not taking the words out of our directing board goal anytime soon, or our mission statement. And so I'd be happy to talk about that further, but it is an action plan that we hope to continue to build on. It's just so important to me and I think to our organization. Our community is so diverse, and our families are coming from so many different places.
So diverse,
and
yeah.
Disability is a piece of this, and recognizing that and knowing that there are so many ways that we can support and learn from each other and really understand different lenses. So.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions about just the services and how we use them?
That's great.
So I mentioned at the beginning of this that the District 204 board, all of you serve as the fiscal agent for LADSI, and the reason that's the case is because LADSI does not have an elected board. The board is made up of myself and all the other superintendents who are members of LADSI. So because of that, you all serve as the fiscal agent. And so I thought that was important to kind of share the services and a lot of what they do, because essentially down the road here in 2 months, we're asking all of you to approve a $34 million budget for LADSI. It's a significant amount of money. So with that informational item out of the way, the next step would then be to move into the next agenda item, which is Dr. Ambio and Mr. Peronich will present the highlights of their FY26 budget. And we'll go from there. So I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Yeah, and as, just quickly, let Nick talk for most of this, but as Dr. Waterman mentioned, there are two ways that cooperatives can be can function in the state of Illinois. It's part of school code, and one way is to be their own independent school district, and a number of cooperatives are their own independent school districts, where at least one, if not two, of elected school board officials from each of our member districts would sit on a leadership board of LADSI along with superintendents. And there's a structure for that and a way that can happen where we would be our own fiscal agent. We wouldn't need to come to the LT board. But there is another pathway, which is by having our member school district representatives be those. But at the end of the day, we need an elected board of board members to be able to approve any sort of financial operation, just as any public entity in the state of Illinois does. And so that is those two different pathways. For LADSI, it's always been, I think, the interest of the superintendents around the table to say we'll take on the responsibility of supervising and monitoring the practices that, and we indeed have our own board meetings. 5 times a year, not quite as many as LLT, but that Dr. Waterman and our other 14 superintendents come to have the same role that you do around the table in terms of asking questions, doing a deeper dive into what work we're doing and why we're doing it, and making recommendations. So it's a great board to work with, and I think it works well for this community. I just think it's a good fit, and but I recognize that there's a portion of your meeting that you have to devote to LADSI each month, and a portion of the board packet that Marilyn needs to make sure is getting in there, and so I appreciate that. It is an additional role that LT serves that not every district serves, does, either in LADSI or even around the state of Illinois, so I appreciate that. And I'll turn it over to Nick.
All right, good evening to the board. As Ellie mentioned, my name is Nick Peronich. I'm the Director of Business Services at LADSI. I just want to start off this evening just by thanking Dr. Waterman and the board for, again, just inviting Ellie and I here. I can't express our gratitude for you guys to hear a little bit more about LADSI, and there's this very, very close partnership, right? As you've heard from Ellie, as you've heard from Dr. Owens, this close partnership between LADSI and LT. And again, you guys have always been very supportive of us, and again, I just want to express my gratitude towards that. As Dr. Waterman mentioned, at the May 7th LADSI directing board meeting, Dr. Waterman and the other 14 superintendents approved our FY26 tentative budget. The budget itself is $34.4 million. This represents a 4.52% increase over where we were last year. This is mostly coming in the form of some additional classrooms that we're adding for our communication development program, which mostly handles students on the autism spectrum. So this is really, as we talked about earlier, right? Cooperatives. It's kind of what does everybody need at the time, right? Year to year changes, and what we've been seeing over the last few years, kind of a general trend is our elementary districts are needing more and more, kind of placements for students with autism. So we'll be adding some additional CD classrooms for next year. So a good part of that increase is coming from that. Additionally, we've got, we have a lot of other costs tied up with contractual services that we're seeing some increases. We have, obviously we have classrooms all over our member districts, within buildings, but as Ellie mentioned, we also have LRV, we have other old parochial schools that we're renting space from in order to house these classrooms, and so we're seeing some increased costs there related to, food service and rent, and other, those kind of, supplies, just all those kind of general increases. In addition to those kind of two big, I guess kind of the bigger reasons why we're seeing those, that 4.52% increase, we have also in the budget, we have a 4% salary increase that's part of our negotiated contract with our teacher union. We have a 10% increase built in for insurance benefits for next year. But that kind of sums up kind of surface level in terms of what we're looking at for FY26. Happy to answer any questions the board might have.
So again, just to reiterate, this is the tentative budget. This would come back in August with a hearing and adoption, consideration of adoption of the final budget, just like we did with our amended
Right.
budget
Yep.
an hour ago.
I think, well, I just had a question, because I went a little bit further down and was reading on page, it's 338 in our packet, it's page 24, I think, for Ladsy's executive summary. But just the reduced employer contribution rate was it dropped from 2.25 to 1.5? Like, what's the impact on that, and how did that come about, I guess?
Sure. I mean, this is kind of, it stems from, I guess probably the best way to describe it is, you know, what we're budgeting into it, right? We never know truly what the rate's going to be.
Okay.
I guess multiple years ago, we were, I guess, part of LT, from what I understand. I've been with the organization for 2 years now.
Sure.
And so when we kind of separated, Lansing was kind of incurring some higher IMRF costs.
Okay.
Percentages, or I guess the comfort level of the board at that time was to budget a little bit higher. And so what we've been doing over the last few years, as we're I guess we're getting more, you know, we're bringing our rate more in line with what our actual rate is.
Okay.
Yeah, so that I guess it's a kind of a multi-year. You know, it probably goes back, I don't know, 8-9 years as to kind of the reason.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago, and Brian Cesich can probably speak to it pretty well too. We were told we had to separate our auditors, that
Right,
we
right.
cannot be a part of it. And so LT wound up having to take a little bit of a increase because of that, and we got a little bit of a benefit from it, but we had over contributing.
Okay.
And so we're kind of whittling that down right now, where we just didn't need as much going into retirement. IMRF's like, you're over contributing to us, you need to stop doing that. We were nervous that there might be some additional pension costs that we would, you know, we don't want to not have available there to expend, but we were being a little bit too conservative, so we're steadily reducing that amount.
Okay, so this is more realistic than in what your expectations are. I get it. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Okay.
Sounds like those classrooms will be needed too.
Yes,
I mean,
for sure.
it definitely makes sense. Wait, for really quick, sorry, the two classrooms that you mentioned, the CD classrooms, is that specific to a certain age, like?
Well, they're mostly being primary. We've
It
just
is.
been flooded
Okay.
with kindergarten and first
Yeah.
graders from our member districts. It's just been kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Every September, the number of calls we get going, okay, this kindergarten had ran out that way and that one ran out this
Yep.
way, and we both need more support than we
Yep.
can give them.
I think that's good to
So,
hear.
primary autism is where
Okay.
we're really seeing the increase.
Yeah, that's great, and it's good to be able to catch and start early with some interventions.
Yeah.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you.
It's a trend I've heard
Me
in many
too.
districts.
I know, and I
right?
know people who are paras that have been in those positions many times too.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So can I have a motion to approve the LADSI FY26 tentative budget as presented?
So move.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Giannotti Frye?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vida Daniels? Yes. Member Kazelka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. And again, this item will be brought back to the board for consideration for final budget approval in August. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for that presentation too.
Yeah, for sure. Our next agenda item is the consideration of authorization for approval authority to the superintendent for all candidate recommendations, including administrator recommendations, from June 16th, 2025 through August 18th, 2025. Ed Piotrowski.
Thank you very much, President Alvarez. We are requesting the Board of Education's consideration to authorize the superintendent to approve the hiring of candidates for all positions and work groups from June 16th through August 18th, 2025, subject to formal ratification at the next regular meeting of the Board of Education in August of 2025. This authorization provides necessary flexibility to respond to hiring needs that arise between board meetings during the summer months when we do not have a July board meeting. For example, following the June board meeting and prior to the August meeting, it is common for resignations or for newly hired or newly identified needs to occur, requiring timely hiring decisions to ensure a smooth start to the school year. Under this authorization, any such personnel actions that are taken by the superintendent would be presented to the board for formal ratification at the next regular action meeting in August of 2025. We are recommending that the board approve this authorization as provided.
From a very practical perspective, this allows us, the hiring we do this summer, to get those individuals started at like induction and mentoring in early August before the August 18th board meeting, which is our first day of school. So.
And I can say, this is a practice that we've adopted in Plainfield for a long, long time. We've done it. It just helps us, especially with the shortages we're seeing across the country. It gets them in right away, gets them connected. Being able to get that ball rolling from the beginning, I think is just a good move to help get our staff in the door.
And all the hires will eventually come to the board. They'll still come to the board for formal approval on August 18th, but it allows us to legally start them with all the planning and orientation onboarding that we do. We already know we have 2 administrative hires to make this summer, so it's handy.
Any questions, concerns?
No.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the authorization for approval authority to the superintendent for all candidate recommendations, including administrative recommendations from June 16, 2025 through August 18, 2025 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gazelka Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Our next new business agenda item is the consideration of approval of a change order for Dem Services Incorporated. Brian Stashak.
Thank you, President Alborz. So during construction, from time to time, the board will bring change orders to the board. Change orders are either for an increase in the contract cost or, in fact, a decrease in the contract cost. Unfortunately, this one is an increase in cost of $18,714. DEM Services is the company that is currently providing asbestos abatement services, which is what has to take place before we actually begin the renovations that are, starting here in the summer of 2025. And so when we started looking at construction schedules with the general contractors and the abatement, the amount of asbestos that had to be removed, there was when we were looking at that and trying to stay on time, because the asbestos abatement has to be completed first before we can move into the other phases of the project, there was a recommendation to add a second crew for the abatement services so that we could continue to move that forward based on the timeline and the schedule for the general contractors performing the work as well. And so that is the reason for this particular change order. Again, adding $18,714 to the contract. Original contract was for $193,000 even, and now the contract will be $211,714. And so we would ask the board to formally approve this change order with DEM Services as presented.
Any questions, concerns?
No, we got to get it done.
Yeah.
We got to get it done, and
My only question was, what caused this to pop up? How was it not originally thought of in the original bid?
So it was really more or less the coordination at the time between when we bid the project, and then, so we have a separate consultant for our asbestos services. And of course, then we have the architects. And when we looked at it at the time originally, we thought, yeah, okay, that looks fine, the schedule looks good. And then as they started getting closer to the actual start of the construction, that's when they said, it would be helpful if we could get another crew in here for another week to move this asbestos out quicker. And so that's really how it took place.
That'll also help us stay on schedule so that the students can go back into the classrooms and be back in the school.
That's the goal.
Ultimately,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the change order with DEM Services Incorporated in the amount of $211,714, which is an increase of $18,714 from the original contract as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Kazelka Campbell.
Yes.
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Ryan Stashak, for that. And our new business agenda item is the consideration of approval of the 25-26 Board of Education norms and protocols. I can speak to this one. On May 13th, the Board of Ed participated in a Starting Right workshop facilitated by Patrick Allen, who we've used before, who is phenomenal, in case any of his bosses are listening. From the Illinois Association of School Boards, this continues to be a tradition of District 204 Board, emphasizing the importance of participating in regular professional development, which helps the board keep up on current trends and best practices in board governance. It also provides great opportunity for the board to discuss communication protocols and norms for decision-making. Ultimately, the opportunity to work with the Illinois School Board Association's Director of Outreach and Training, Patrick Allen, in my opinion, has become invaluable in ensuring that we are working as a strong collective body. This does not mean we will always agree on topics, but rather it will establish norms and protocols for us to bring our collective talents together to make informed decisions in the best interest of our students. In addition, the workshop allowed the board to have a productive discussion on how we can continue to engage our community through means such as board chats and how to best engage with our constituents. I would encourage anybody else to provide some feedback on that process and what we've accomplished over this last session.
I think it was great, the timing, the new board coming on to go over this, and to have that opportunity for us to have a facilitated conversation regarding this to really be the best that we can do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just in the fact that we've been doing this continually and using these as opportunities sort of for checks and balances and to build the trust that the board needs to have among each other and that respect. So it's been really, I think, beneficial. So, and Patrick is really great. I'm glad we got to keep using him, so.
Yeah. He makes a long travel up from
All the way from
Springfield.
Springfield.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the workshop provided the opportunity for the board to update and recommit to our established norms and protocols, and I think it would be valuable for the board to consider approving these norms and protocols publicly tonight. Pending approval, we will then post them publicly on the Board of Education website. So with that, can we have a motion to approve the recently revised Board of Education norms and protocols as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Vita Daniels.
Yes.
Member Kazelka Campbell.
Yes.
Member Dillon.
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Alvarez.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for your work on that. That was, like I said before, extraordinarily productive. Our final new business agenda item is the consideration of approval of the 2025-2026 strategic plan priority list. Dr. Waterman.
Yeah, we talked about this as well on June 2nd, but this is a significant time frame in our annual strategic planning process. Our plan was developed with engagement from our entire school community back in spring of 2022. Includes the 5 comprehensive goals centered on student growth and achievement, learning environment supports, high-quality diverse staff, family-community partnerships, and resource effectiveness. So obviously every year the board plays a really important oversight role in making sure that our strategic plan continues to include those goals and strategies and priorities that really honor the desires of our school community. And so the reason that June is such a significant mile marker is that our action teams and our leadership teams have been busy working since early May to assess our work from this, bless you, to assess our work from this past year and also to develop our priority list for the next school year. So as I talked about on June 2nd, we're asking the board to approve the 25-26 priority list as outlined in your board packet. And again, these are not, these are reflective of the macro level areas that we feel like we really need to focus on during the upcoming school year, not the micro level task by task, everything that we're going to be doing. And as we say all the time too, there are no secrets with our plan. All this information, including goal strategies, scorecards, priority lists, are always publicly accessible on our website. And so with that, we're just simply asking the board to consider approving this tonight, but I or our goal champions would be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
I think we had a good discussion on this last time. Again, it seems like that's a monumental task to get through some of these things, but you've demonstrated already in the past couple of years that we've been in our strategic planning that those monumental goals can be accomplished and have been accomplished. So I'm sure I speak for the board that we're very clearly aware of the amount of time and effort that goes into this, and it is not for nothing. It was, it was a direct impact to our students and our community. So I know we're very thankful for the work that's being done with this.
Thank you. And we know we have work to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a quick question, and it may have come up last meeting, I don't recall. Scott's replacement taking over his goal, so it's just going to be transition.
Yeah, actually, I think President Ward asked that last time. It's a great question.
Okay.
She's already, so Dr. Payne has already started a transition, spent a lot of time with Scott, a lot of time with our leadership teams, really going back to February when she was at our first admin team meeting after she was appointed here in February. She was there at the March meeting, so she's already started to acclimate and trying to obviously balance finishing out her current role, but July 1 she'll be here.
Hit the ground running.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
actually reviewed these goals with her today. She came for our division retreat.
That's cool.
Good.
That's awesome.
She's up to date as can be.
And if not,
Great
she'll go
question.
to your house. Like
Be at my house.
Okay. If there aren't any more questions or comments, can we have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 strategic plan priority list as presented?
So moved.
Second? Somebody second?
Second.
Thank you. Marilyn, will you please call roll?
Member Kozowski Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we have now reached the consent agenda portion of our meeting, and our consent agenda includes payment of bills and financial statements for LTHS and LADSI for the month of May 2025, approval of depositories and signers, approval of human resource items for LTHS and LADSI, review and approval of meeting minutes, open and closed sessions, disposal of surplus equipment, donations, which I will just throw a little plug in there. We have some great donations.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was
just,
thinking the same thing.
for our incubator program and
Yeah.
care space, so thank you to our donators. And approval of overnight student travel as recommended by the administration. Can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, will you please call the roll?
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Kozowski Campbell?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Next is our second opportunity for audience members to give comments or feedback to the Board of Education. Marilyn, do we have anybody signed up? I'm seeing her say no. Great. At this time, the board will move into closed session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, 5 ILCS 120/2C2. The board will not be taking any action after closed session. Can we have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Marilyn, please call the roll.
Member Giannotti Fry?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Lopez?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels? Yes. Member Kozowski Campbell?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes.
Member Alvarez?
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, everybody, for your time this evening. We'll take a little break to get set up.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.